Hi, this is Shakti Kali Kaloksi with my podcast, Beautiful You, the show where I get to share all my favourite people with insights and teachings on natural health, detox, women's empowerment and sacred sexuality, fitness, spirituality and more. I stand for truth, passion, freedom, transparency, heart, sovereignty and creativity, and I seek guests who resonate at the same level. The beautiful in me recognises the beautiful in you. Hi everybody, thank you ever so much for joining me on my very first podcast, Beautiful You. And my first guest is Lisa Waters. I'm really happy to have you here, Lisa. Thank you for being my first guest.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
And you're also known as Lisa T. Ruth and Lisa Waters.
Many things. Lisa, free the people, various names, ducking and diving, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call me. But yeah, Lisa's fine.
Yeah, and I've loved sort of like following you, and then I was introduced to you at one of the marches. I don't know when it was. It might have been a year ago. Who knows? And you've got a really great following of people because you have been really putting yourself out there over this last 2 years, 3 years. Do you just want to tell us a little bit about how you got into this whole movement and what you've been doing, like from your perspective?
Well, basically, it started from the very beginning of the pandemic, where immediately I was aware that it was not what it seemed to be. So I started speaking out immediately, straight away. It gained me a lot of enemies initially, but then obviously you start speaking out against the lockdowns and stuff, and I started to find more and more people who felt the same as me, and it kind of escalated from there. I started running groups. I was attending protests from the very beginning. There was the law element of things, which I'd always done a lot of law stuff. I've always represented myself on things over the years. So that not that I've been in trouble, but just generally in life, you know. From the law point of view, from the medical point of view, those were things that really struck me. I did a lot of research. I had an article published by David Icke and Vanessa Beeley back in October 2020 about cremation Form 5 and the death certificate process. That was really great. And yeah, from there I just kept doing what I was doing, which was speaking out as much as I could. Vaccine centres, outreach, done a lot of outreach. I did outreach for 2 years in my local town centre, trying to speak to people locally, warn them about the dangers of the vaccine, especially for the children. I mean, that's been a big focus for me as children. And then moving on, also I've done a lot of stuff with law, helping people with their gas and electricity issues when they've been faced with the difficulties that a lot of us have faced over the last couple of years with that, helping people, just generally with debt and stuff like that as well. There's that element of it, the matrix, the financial matrix, as well as, the rest of it. As lockdowns eased and stuff, I kind of picked up the mantle there, and that's basically been that's kind of me in a nutshell, so to speak.
I mean, honestly, what struck me about you, Lisa, is your capacity to hold knowledge and information. You're a bright woman, and we need women. We need women like you, because I went through my whole British Gas journey, which was an absolute nightmare. And you have been incredibly supportive and organised in pulling different groups of people together. You've gone over and beyond what most people would have done. So you've really kind of shown me your heart as well. It's like you've really been there for people at a big, a big capacity to hold this information, but also to share and to be part of lots of different communities. And I really want to honour that, because
thank you.
Even to the point with British Gas, and of course we're all busy working our way through these crazy times at the moment. We're all playing our role, and you've organised even different areas for people to look into. For example, for me, and I haven't even gone down that route yet, for me there was like suing the police or suing British Gas, and suing the police for what they did, which was completely unlawful,
Yeah.
and also extremely traumatic. How have you?
It is traumatic.
It really is. People
It
don't.
is. People think, yeah, it is. It's the trouble. You think you're standing up against things, and then all of a sudden, your home is invaded, and you think everything's going to go one way, and it doesn't, and nothing can quite prepare you for that. And it leads to a lot of people with PTSD. It really does.
Yeah.
Especially when police are involved and stuff like that. We are law-abiding people, men and women. We are. We're not used. It's not those things. No matter how tough you are, it's an attack on you in your most sacred place, which is your home. And that has a massive effect. No matter how tough you are, that has a massive effect. And it does leave people in need of time to recover from that.
Yeah.
It leaves a scar.
I think that was the bit that was left out, because like you, I've always been about truth, and I've always been about integrity. And, what I did was in faith, true faith. There was no idea of sort of cheating anybody.
No.
But when I had 4 police in my home that broke in, I dealt with it fine. I don't know my common law terribly well. I had a friend 20 years ago that was telling me all about common law, and she was able to deal with it. But I don't have that deep knowledge. I don't retain information. I have to, like my O-levels, I had to learn them over and over and over and over again till I could pass them. It took me a while to take in the information, but I was willing to do that whole process. But when it came to it after the event, I realised how traumatised I was, to the point where I'd gone down this whole road that a lot of us went through, learning different things, signing right into the bloody Queen, or all the things we did, I don't know. And in the end, Lisa, it was too much for me to deal with on my own. It was too much. And even the guy Gavin that was helping me at the time was telling me of people that had the roads dug up, and that you need to do this, and it was like they were continuously one step ahead to stop us with our common law. That's how it felt to me. And so
it's not just about common law, and this is a lot of what I try to give to people, though. It's not just about common law, because common law is common law, and those laws are very important. But then also what people fail to recognise, and which is something I focus on a lot, is that the people who come to your door, even the police, but especially the energy brokers, they don't work on common law. They work on legislation, because they're corporations.
Yeah.
So them as entities, which when they're at your door, they're men and women, but they are acting as on behalf of a corporate entity, and they are bound by legislation, and they have the force of law to act on that legislation. So, and then they ignore the rules on top of that as well, because they think they can do as they like, because they've got a little bit of power. So you've got many elements to that. So it's not just common law, it's several, you're crossing jurisdictions, and you're then dealing with people who bully for their profession. Their profession is to bully people, police, and these the men and women who work for these energy brokers. So and that is an immense amount for anyone to take on. Immense. It is immense. As for you to take that on and know what to do in that situation that you've never been in before, when you've got all these people coming in your house and telling you you've been a naughty girl, and it's and that's a lot to deal with. And then the aftermath of that, which is immense, because if, like I said, you can go down this route, you can sue them, you can do this. It's a lot of hard work, very time consuming. Yeah. It's a big mess to mop up. It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one, but I still commend you for taking the stance and fighting in the first place.
I had to. I had to. I'm somebody who I will, if something feels true, I'm in there, and I was that passionate about it, But I'm just curious. I mean, did you have many people that sort of saw it through, or did everyone find their stumbling block? Because I get a sense that this time now, like we're in September 2023, and I want to talk to you about that in a minute, about where we are now. But just going back to that time, which is kind of last year and the year before, Did you find that many people got to a certain level and then just couldn't do any more, or did you see many success stories of people?
There are success stories. There are success stories where people are still going. Sometimes that changes. The way in which they fight will be changing, and I've advised a lot of people to take slightly different avenues. We've had to alter the way in which people fight. There's always a way through and round things, but often for some people they get to a certain point where their home's been crashed into, and they've gone, right, that's it, I'm out. They're out. They're gonna not take that battle on. It's not right for them at this time. For others, they've picked the pieces back up, carried on in different ways, changed the way they're fighting it. I won't go into too much detail because a lot of it we try to keep offline now. The ways in which we fight, we try to keep that offline because we're all being watched, as you know.
Yeah.
So, but there are ways, and people, there's different ways to do things. So it's about adapting. Yeah. So some people, and adapting also includes knowing your own limits and knowing what battles you need to be fighting. And for some, that pressure of the door, like I said to you, in your situation, it wasn't the right battle for you to be fighting. And it's the same for many others. I've talked to so many people out of doing it as well as supporting them through it, because it's not always right for everyone. And I can't bear to see people hurting. It's not productive. It's not good for our souls. We're supposed to be freeing ourselves from stuff, not imprisoning ourselves in another cage. Yeah. So if that's what it's doing, then that is not where you need to be. Yeah. And that's what people, and people go in all gung-ho, and that's fantastic. But then often the fallout, and it's that applies to every aspect of the whole situation, the whole matrix that we're fighting. That applies. We can't all fight everything at once. It's just not possible.
No. Brilliant.
So it's about choosing not just the battles. We're all fighting the same battle, but it's about choosing the ones we engage in personally.
Absolutely.
And I really do believe that.
Yeah, no, that you are a very wise woman. You are a very wise woman. I really appreciate you. Lisa. And this thing about fighting the right battles, because I think in a way many of us got so caught up in the last 2 years of being out there, sort of on the front line, out there on the streets, doing the outreach, standing outside the buses, trying to inform the public, especially the children, about the potential harms, and that they were not being given these forms to fill in so that they could read up all this stuff that was not done, that should have legally happened. And it wasn't happening, but nobody was listening, and it was just falling upon deaf ears. And yet we were out there. Even if we reached one person, it was a job worth done. But unfortunately, we were looked upon as, crazy individuals who were just tinfoil hatters and the rest of it, the theorists. And so I feel like, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this now, but I realised that after all the hoo-has of the last few years, that it can begin to make you quite cynical. For somebody like me, for example, who was teaching yoga, Pilates, yoga retreats, meditation. When this all first started, I was doing live meditations online, heart circles. And then I just got so pulled into the whole really negative aspect of it. And it's now been happening over the summer, and now it's like I really need to focus on the light. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to participate. And I loved something you said recently. You came to us in St Albans and gave us a talk, which we really appreciated. And that was that, we were in a council meeting in St Albans, and I basically stood up and called the councillor a liar because he was lying. And we got asked to leave, and you came and gave us a talk to a few of us, and you came up with some, which felt really like genuinely like the right thing to do. It's like, we can't fight this anymore as a battle. We have to lead the way. And, you had the suggestions of not changing the tactics, but, changing the way you approach it. So it's more heart-centered, actually.
Yeah. Because, we go into battle mode. And then we have expectations of what we want from those battles. But we're not fighting people like us. This is what we need to remember. We're not fighting, and we don't need to be fighting. We don't need to always be in battle mode. And your experiences of outreach were vastly different to mine. I really want you to come on our outreach, because you absolutely love it. I've got nothing but love from the outreach that we did, because I approached it. I expected to be heckled. I expected to be people to, because we was out at the very, during the depths of lockdown in the town centre, and this will be the same in the council. It's about my expectations, and we did get heckled. We did get people calling us murderers and stuff like that. But we also got, because I was asking, my outreach was, I'll set up balls where I'm asking people questions and inviting them to come and speak to me. I don't approach anyone. I don't try to give them leaflets. I don't try to give them anything. I stand back with a great big board asking a simple question such as, we declined the jab, ask us why.
Right. So simple.
And then people didn't want to ask. They just wanted to give us a dirty look and tut and walk past. But you'd be surprised. It's about a mindset. And I wanted to be a non-invasive way of doing outreach and inviting those out there who possibly did have doubts, giving them a place to come and say, hang on a minute, and also putting a subliminal, not that I'm into brainwashing anybody, but putting a subliminal question into passers-by's minds. Hang on a minute, and asking questions is a great way to do that. So this is what I did, and it's the same with the councils. Going and asking them questions, but doing it in a slightly different way. The minute you start attacking, they're going to close you down. They deserve to be put on the spot and asked these questions. They do deserve to be called liars. And we've been so gung-ho in our own circles that spills over, but finding our own way, and it's much more what it is what's good for us about that is it's a much more peaceful way for us to do that. It brings us so much more pleasure and reward from doing it that way than when we are yelling and when we're because we're frustrated. But when we do that, it's better for us, everybody, us spiritually.
Yeah, absolutely.
To do that in a way where we are putting them in a spot where they can't throw us out. That's a negative experience, or where we're not being overly heckled or shouted at, like on outreach. When you're getting people, I had a lady come up to me on outreach, crying her eyes out, crying, weeping when she saw the signs. An Eastern European lady, thank you. She said, I thought I was alone.
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one who felt like me. She said, and till I saw you here. And she cried she cried on my shoulder. And then she started coming to protest and stuff with us. So, and that, I cried with her. It was, and there was so many people like that we're reaching. And so there's many ways to do things, but it's about doing them in a way that resonates.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keeps us in a good place. It's easy to lose track of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have found that, you mentioned Eastern European, because Eastern Europeans have lived with communism, as have the whole history of communism. I think, where I am in St Albans, for example, it's very, very middle class. There's a lot of money here. And of course, it's harder to tackle than, you can only just go 10 minutes down the road to other towns. And I would say people are more aware, more awake. So, I think part of it is overcoming this sort of frustration, of trying to connect with people, which is why I'm thinking I need to veer away from all of this, because my natural Hungarian blood starts to boil. So it's been a journey for each of us, I think, to actually look at ourselves and look at how much are we getting addicted, because the thing is, this energy is an addictive energy. When you start to get used, and I said to myself a few months ago, I thought, oh my God, I'm turning into like this cynical woman. And I really had to have words with myself. Yes, I've personally been through a very stressful year, but it feels really, I can feel all the new energies coming in, all the light energy coming into the planet, into our physical bodies. And I really feel like there's massive transformation happening right now. And, you know, people like you, people like me, and so many people who are listening now, I really feel it's an important time for everybody who is part of our community to find the courage to step up and look at what that looks like to each of us individually. How can each of us step up?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, for me now, hearing what you're going to be doing with your outreach, fortunately I'm not far away from you. I'm going to come and join you in an outreach. But I would say anyone who's listening to this that would like to be going into their own towns and cities, you know, and get some advice. How are you sort of working with this in supporting other people? Do you have,
As you know, I came to support you, so I'm willing to support other areas. If people can get in touch and I can help them, get them, you know, give them the same kind of advice and stuff that I gave to you and your St Albans people, and support them through that, because it's about supporting each other as well. Yeah. You know, like we've said, and I'm happy to come to St Albans to support you as well. For many people as well, we have that, you know, as time goes by and the areas grow and more people, if people are doing that in areas, I'm happy to be of assistance. They can contact me,
Perfect.
You know, via Facebook, whatever, and I can give them info. I can, you know, we can work together.
Brilliant.
And I can give them, you know, the documents, the ways in which they can try and set up and get in touch with their own councils, the you know, and their outreach, council meetings, all these type of things, if that's what people want to do, whether it's just outreach or whether they just want to attend council meetings, either both. But how they can, it's about building community as well.
Totally.
Building a community
Perfect.
as well, not necessarily preaching about, but people can contact me and we can work together on that.
That's wonderful. That's brilliant, Lisa. That is just so amazing. You know, you are such a pivotal, poignant woman in this movement, and I just really want to thank you for your, you know, for your big heart and your commitment to truth. It's just, you know, we need people like you, and we need people like you at home that will value what Lisa is offering and will take the initiative, because people say to me all the time, oh, you know, I wish we had, I mean, I've always been like this, like, I wish we had you know, I wish we had decent music in St Albans. It was always a certain type of rock music. So I created a live music venue. You know, anybody, when you know that as a human being, you are capable of anything, if you want to create something in your town, you've got the support. Create it. You've got the support. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you do, it's amazing, you know, how many you just, and it's about putting out the right energy for that as well. Totally. When you do, I mean, I will come to St Albans and I can guarantee you that, you know, we'll find some people. We might not find as many as in other areas, but we will find, you know, you've already got quite a lot of people in your area, but there's more. They're just scared.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's about finding those scared ones. You don't have to worry. The other ones who heckle or have got something negative, so you don't have to worry about them. You can just let them go. But it's the ones that's what we're out there for. We're out there to spiritually connect with people who need us. There's no point trying to connect with people who don't or don't want to.
No.
That's their path. It's about finding the people who we are meant to connect with. Absolutely. And so, you know, it's a great, and you know, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. It's you know, it's about what you want to take from life, and we are looking for the light, like you said, that it's good energy out there. And the more we connect with other people on that same page, the brighter the light shines.
1,000,000%. And Lisa, look, I'm going to wind this down a little bit now, because I could just talk to you for hours and hours about this. Let's talk about Lisa. Lisa. Beautiful you. I'm just in the process of rebranding everything. And I just see the beauty in your heart. And I'm also noticing the last few weeks that you are taking some time out for you, and you're on a bit of a journey at the moment. Yeah.
Well, I'd stepped back during the summer a little bit from the truth stuff, because I was feeling unwell. I wasn't really feeling completely unwell, but I knew it was coming. I'm very in tune with my body. I'm very in tune with my hormones, my emotional health, my physical health. I always have been. And because, you know, but what I had been punishing myself with for many years was accepting pharma medication for an underactive thyroid. And for the last couple of years, I had been researching how to come off of these meds, but I was scared because it's, you've got underactive thyroid. And I kept popping the pills. It's one pill in the morning, but the pills don't work, as we know. And so I kept putting off coming off them. But over the last year, I'd say the medication doesn't work anyway, thyroid medication. It doesn't work anyway. So I've noticed that, the doctor was telling me my blood tests were fine, my levels were fine, but I could feel, and it wasn't symptoms of anything like really bad where I'm hobbling around, but it was, I could feel the changes in my body that were not good, and so I could no longer put that off. Well, that started me, that's made me reevaluate so much over the years, having kids and everything. I started off as a fantastic mum, breastfeeding, making all the baby food, never give them shop bought baby food. I made all my own food. Then as they got older and outside influences, they started eating crap. I lost interest in food. I disconnected with food. I wasn't looking after myself. I stopped looking after myself, my nutrition, my health on the meds. So when I've come now to detox off of the pharma meds, I've also got in touch with my inner cook, my inner mama. I've started to detox off of everything, off of all the crap that was in me and the kids' lives that we was eating and drinking. And wow, what was I afraid of? Why have I put this off for so long?
I've got goosebumps, and this is a whole nother episode. Seriously, you have to come back, and because this is the driver for me with everything we've just talked about. Like, the biggest driver for me is natural health of mind, body and soul. So to hear you say those words, like, and just the way you've described it, for me is just like heaven. Because why wouldn't we follow God's law and nature's food, is medicine. What we eat is medicine. And when we look at all the chemicals and toxins, and not just chemicals and toxins, but the poison that we're fed, even like, cleansers, washing detergents, all of it. I've always known about it, but it's only the last probably 2 or 3 years that I've taken it to another level now. I think, everyone needs to be stepping up. So again, what an amazing, exciting journey you're on. I'm really, really excited for you.
It was the next level of I've been spiritually awake for many, many years, and I've always been anti-gov and stuff like that. But then, we go through life and we ignore a lot of stuff, even though we're aware of it, blah, blah, blah. Of
course we do.
And we get to a page, and then we got to lockdown. But I was being blocked and I was being held back. I could feel that. Even though I was like really proactive and stuff, there was something that was not right with me. And that's what it was.
Yeah. That's
what it was. I was neglecting myself.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about pampering myself, going and getting nails done. I'm not talking about those. Those are superficial ways, although they're lovely. Those are superficial ways. I mean, from the core elements of what we need as human beings: food, clean water. Self-care. That is the ultimate. Self-care, the way we cook the organic food. I'm going to be getting into growing food as well. I've got a huge garden, so that's something. What better? Free organic food, even better. These changes that a lot of people in the movement still haven't made. But they were. It was blocking me from ascending even more. It was stunting me, and it was starting to drag me down. I needed to release that. And it's amazing. It's amazing when you do,
isn't it? And the thing is, you're quite right. It's like we can only do so many things at a time, and now for people to step up, this piece about self-care, self-love, self-nurturing. And we talk a lot in the movement about, waking up, awake. Are they awake? But, you know, just being aware of the illusion of this matrix, you know, being aware that we've been lied to our whole lives, is the first stage of awakening. There is a whole awakening journey available.
There is. And we're very focused on truth, and we're very focused on, you know, being honourable. But the number one who we lie to the most is ourselves, about ourselves. It really, really is. And it's not a negative thing to say that. I find it really empowering to realise where I've done things not in the right way, where I've been hurting myself. I find, because you don't mean to, it's not an intentional thing. You don't think I'm going to get up and neglect myself today. But you over time, you are neglecting, and you can say, oh, and people go, don't be so hard on yourself. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about being truthful with yourself, about, you know, who you are and what you're doing to yourself and what you're doing to your family, even if it's through food, you know. And yes, you know, we all make mistakes and we all get things wrong, but when you realise that, until you accept that you've been doing it wrong, you cannot move on to do it right. So, and you know, I'll forgive myself for you know, my shoddy eating and all these for drinking Pepsi Max. I'm going to forgive myself for that. It's gone, but now I'm ready to really go for it. And wow, getting rid of the pharma meds, getting rid of fizzy drinks, processed foods, not that yet much of processed foods anyway, but stepping it up. I feel, I might not waking up in the morning and feeling tired like I was for many years. That in itself is like, you know, it's inspiring me for many other things. It's freeing me to do more.
I'm really excited to watch your journey now, because oh my God, you I can already feel your light. I can feel it, I can see it. And just for you to share what you've shared, you know, it's like, oh my God, I want to get you in a heart circle. I want to really I feel the layers just falling away, and I just feel this illumination, this magnetism from your whole being. Lisa Waters, beautiful you. Thank you so much for joining me today and being my first guest on my first podcast. Love you, darling.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care, darling. Lots of love. Bye. Bye.